Bird Ferguson. Watching the Zuckerberg hearing, and I was curious as to your thoughts on the matter. Western social media has an observable political bias, and while your personal politics may align with this bias, your cult awareness content could be placed in the ever-increasing and nebulous umbrella of what they consider hate speech. Does this concern you? Given Zuckerberg's testimony and the recent political comments by Jack Dorsey and the value you place on critical thought and the vigorous exchange of ideas, do you feel any obligation to call attention to what many see as an organized effort to obstruct certain speech on these platforms? Thanks for the question, and this is a very, very deep well, and I am really only going to dip my toe in it in answering this question here on my Q&A. I could do a whole podcast on this, and actually while I was thinking about this, I've thought about doing that. So let's see, my thoughts on this. I was not very impressed by Congress's grilling of Zuckerberg. It was not very impressive. I mean, these old guys in the Senate clearly don't understand social media. The questions they were asking him about, for example, how does Facebook make money? I mean, how do you not know that? Through advertisements. That is the business model. Like, how is this a valid question to be asking Zuckerberg? Clearly, these guys are a little clueless. So I wasn't really very impressed. Now, as far as the point you're making, though, because you're not, the Zuckerberg testimony is whatever, but the point you're making about free speech, let's see. It's a complicated issue. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the social media platforms are privately owned companies. The First Amendment doesn't really apply. I mean, freedom of speech is a principle that we have based on our Bill of Rights. So the government cannot step in and interfere with your right to say whatever it is you want to say. You want to go stand on a street corner and read from the satanic verses or from, the Bible or from Mein Kampf, you can do that. The government can't come and put a muzzle on you and tell you you can't say those words. That's the First Amendment. On a private platform, the people who own that platform have control of it. So if they don't want certain content put on their platform, they have a right to curb or censor or stop the vocalization or writing of those ideas. They don't have to give anybody a platform. That's not a right that you have on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any other social media platform. So it's important to differentiate that because people make these things out to be free speech issues, and it's not a free speech issue because it has nothing to do with government regulation or interference. As I understand it, and as I'm talking about this in terms of private corporations controlling these platforms. Now, that being said, we would like a vigorous exchange of ideas on all social media platforms. This is the United States where it's sort of tradition to have freedom of speech. We take offense or feel, I don't know what the word is, but upset when somebody says, hey, you can't say that here, or we're gonna censor that here. This has also happened on YouTube, and yes, I have been concerned about it. Some of my videos have been demonetized because the content is atheist-oriented or has to do with child abuse. That is just a point that I have educated about because Scientology and destructive cults are abusive groups, and they abuse children and they abuse women sexually, emotionally, psychologically, and I talk about that. I talk about it not from the point of supporting or endorsing that kind of behavior, but on educating about it. And because I do, YouTube deems some of that content now advertiser unfriendly. Well, I don't happen to think that that's the case, and I've been a little pissed, as I have expressed sometimes here, about some of my videos being demonetized. Other videos that I've put up have been demonetized, and then I've asked for a review, and then they get remonetized, and it's okay. The majority of cases that's been the case, but there are a number where that was not the case. And I understand that as a content creator on YouTube, I don't get to have a say in what YouTube will or won't deem advertiser friendly. It's not my call. So I have to put up with it. I can't sue them. I'm not going to take YouTube to court or write nasty letters or try to, create some kind of boycott YouTube or something, because they are giving me a platform to speak and to get my ideas out there. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that I can monetize some of my videos. And the fact that they changed the rules of the game halfway along the line did piss me off. But at the same time, I understand that it's their right to do that because YouTube is part of Google now, and Google has a business model, and they're trying to accomplish different things with YouTube now than they were when they started. So I, as a content creator, have to go along with that and deal with their terms of service that I agree to when I agree to be a content creator. If I don't like it, I can go find another platform where I won't be censored or I won't be cut off for some reason because of the content, but I also won't necessarily be monetized on those other platforms either. So it's a little bit of this balancing act. Ultimately, if somebody is deplatformed on YouTube or Facebook or any of these other platforms, you can go write a book. You can go give lectures. You can go speak in a park. You can go get a soapbox and start talking. I mean, there's nobody stopping you from communicating your ideas. They're just limiting what platforms you can use to express those ideas. I agree with some of the calls that are made. I disagree with other calls that are made. I would not necessarily agree, for example, that Facebook is a left-leaning platform and always has been, because that was actually the problem they're sort of trying to solve by becoming, censoring of content. They were hosting all kinds of right-wing, very alt-right content, and some of it has words and ideas that are being expressed that are rather controversial, to say the least. And I don't know that anybody has a right to be given a platform through YouTube or through Facebook, or as I've gone over here. So that's not the right you have with free speech, you see. So you don't necessarily have to like it, but that's the world that we live in. And I have dealt with that on my channel accordingly. I've made the decision that some of my content isn't going to be monetized, and there's not much I can do about it, but I'm going to keep talking because they're still giving me a platform to do it on. When it comes to, my opinions about hate speech, I know it's very subjective. Some people, some people's truth is other people's hate speech and vice versa. But I think it's pretty clear that when you're posting content on any platform, in any medium, that incites violence towards others, that attempts to demean a class of people in such a way as to truly create hate and divisiveness and violence towards that group, then there probably should be some censoring going on, because that's not a world I want to live in, where free speech is represented by who can rile people up the most. Also, when you're in a frame of mind that you want to incite violence against other people, I've found by experience, not theoretically, but very practically, that such people are very, very open to lying through their teeth. They're very, very selective facts and reasoning in making their points. And I'm not really big on false information being spread around. I don't support that idea. I think facts matter, and I think it's important to tell the truth. Anybody can make a mistake. I've made mistakes. I have said things on my channel over all the videos that I've made that were wrong, but I didn't do it intentionally. I didn't do it in an effort to deceive or to try to get you guys to twist your thinking in some fashion so you'd agree with me. I've always done the best job I can to be as open and honest as I know how to be, and to correct my mistakes when I've made them. That's a different thing from having differing opinions about things. That's not a matter of right or wrong all the time, although the information the opinions are based on can be right or wrong, and that's been my struggle when I deal with people who have differing opinions from me, is I try to check their facts and make sure the facts are straight and that sort of thing. But I'm digressing right now. Like I said, this is a big, big, deep well. There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot to talk about. I hope what I said here gives some idea of where I'm coming from with this. And I think the most important point is differentiating what the First Amendment really means and how it really applies in America versus how it's been sort of, I don't want to say corrupted, but definitely altered to make points that aren't really valid when it comes to free speech on social media platforms. So there you go.